Hey everyone, this is Shar of YellowYum. Long time no see. So this is going to be my delivery and birthing story of my twins. I'm very excited to talk about this because like before with Robyn, I did do a birthing story also. So it's nice to look back on it and see and listen to myself talk about how I gave birth to my daughters. And now that's also what I'm gonna be doing this time around for my twins. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more beauty, motherhood, and lifestyle videos. And also please don't forget to click that notification bell so you'll be notified if I have new videos up. And also like this video if you enjoy these kinds of videos. Okay, so if you watch my last pregnancy video or pregnancy update, that was December 26, a day before giving birth to my twins. So that day we went to the hospital, got admitted. Surprisingly, there was not much people in the hospital, and there were actually a lot of rooms available, and I was able to pick the room that I wanted. Just like with Robyn, I gave birth at Cardinal Santos Medical Center in San Juan. I have the same OBGYN, also the same team actually. I asked for the same team, same anesthesiologist because I had such a pleasant experience with the anesthesiologist before when I gave birth to Robyn, and I wanted them again this time around. I also have the same pedia because that's the pedia partner of my OBGYN, and I just wanted them to basically know the system and how it works and how one works and moves so that it will be easy and fast during delivery. So on December 26, when we got admitted, they told me that my last meal was going to be dinner, and then from I think that's 10 p.m. onwards, I should be fasting already, so no water and no food intake. And then 12 midnight, they already administered the IV. During the time, there were doctors checking up on me, checking if I have contractions or not. I think I only had one contraction, and then after that, none. So my scheduled cesarean section was December 27 at 8 a.m. So I actually talked about the whole reason why I decided to get a scheduled cesarean section on my previous pregnancy update. So I'll link that in the description box and in the information card above. So I woke up around 6:30, got ready. It was difficult because I already had IV, so I thought that I could actually take a bath before going in the operating room, but I wasn't able to take a whole bath, just a half bath, and my husband helped me out. And then around 7, I'd say, they already came to my room, got me, and wheeled me in the operating room. So my tummy was quite huge already at that point, so it was a little bit difficult to stay lying down. So when I got to the operating room, they were still preparing everything. There were nurses there preparing everything, and then I saw the warmer, the baby warmer, and there was just one. So I remember asking the nurse, where's the other one? And then she didn't know that I was having twins, so she had this question mark look on her face and asked me, is it twins? And then I said yes. So at that point I was kind of confused why they didn't know that the delivery was for a multiple pregnancy for twins. But maybe she's just one of those like interim nurses, I don't know. And then after a few minutes, my doctor came in. She's always very warm. That's one of the things that I really loved most about her. I remember when she delivered Robyn, she was there the entire time I was in labor. She held my hand, and until today, that's really something that I appreciated, because I don't think that all OBGYNs are like that. So yeah, she asked how I was feeling and everything. So we waited for the anesthesiologist. So there were two anesthesiologists, and around, I think I'd say maybe 7:45 or so, they administered the spinal anesthesia or epidural, and they had a hard time because I was already quite heavy and quite big at that point. I think I gained about 60 pounds for this pregnancy. And again, my tummy was very, very huge that time. So the male nurse who was pushing me in had a difficult time pushing me in, and I was also having a difficult time keeping that position, like keeping the fetal position, because it was so difficult to breathe. So the anesthesiologist had a hard time finding like where to put the anesthesia and all. It took a while, and it was so difficult for me because I really couldn't breathe. I was sweating so much, and I was just trying to breathe from my nose, and I remember just panting like that. My OBGYN held my hand again, squeezed my hand tight. Anyway, I think that was like the most difficult thing of the entire delivery, the entire time. Once the spinal anesthesia was in, they checked. I remember I felt like they prepared my legs. They checked if I was still feeling anything or if I was still numb. And when I said that I was, it was go time. Now, before that day, before the delivery date, I talked to my OBGYN, and my only request was that I stay awake during the entire procedure. With Robyn, I think I'll put the video link in the description box also if you want to learn and hear my story, my delivery story with Robyn. But with her, it was an emergency C-section, and I remember they made me sleep the entire procedure, and they just woke me up when Robyn was out already, so that I can hear her cry. And then when she was brought to me to latch, and yeah, that was it. Those were the only times that they kept me awake, but the entire time I was asleep. This time around, since I know that this was gonna be my last pregnancy and last delivery, last babies, I really wanted to be able to stay awake and to be in that moment, because I think that it really helps you bond with your kid once you're in it and once you're conscious about what's happening. And that's what I requested from my doctor, to keep me awake. So after the epidural, I was still awake, but I suddenly felt like I couldn't breathe once again. There was this tension here from my neck going down to my shoulders, and it was so painful. I told the anesthesiologist that my shoulders were getting painful, getting numb. So she started massaging it. I think it's really because of the anesthesia, because of the spinal tap. So she started massaging, and then she put this oxygen mask on me, and gosh, I couldn't breathe. I wasn't panicking. I kept my calm. I was very cool, but I just couldn't breathe, and I told her I couldn't breathe. So she tried to move it up a little bit, but I still couldn't breathe. I was having such a difficult time breathing. So I think that was it. After that, I think they just made me sleep again. And I remember thinking during that time that I felt like I was suffocating, I remember thinking, if they decide to put me under and to make me sleep, I wouldn't mind. I will not get mad, because I don't know if I could continue on the entire procedure feeling like that, because it was really difficult. So yeah, I guess they did make me sleep, because the next thing I knew, the anesthesiologist was already telling me that my husband was already in the room and that baby A is out. So I heard him cry. So my son was already born. His name is Ezra Nikolai, and we call him Niko for short. That's gonna be his nickname. So Niko was already born, and suddenly I saw my husband right beside me, and he was smiling, and Niko was brought to me, and I saw his face. We took photos, and then later on they said, okay, baby B is out. So baby B is my daughter, and her name is Nicola, and we call her Nia. And Nia's out, and she was again brought to me, took photos. So we have this beautiful family picture that I will really treasure so much. And then they were brought to the warmer. Now at this time, I heard somebody ask, do you want to breastfeed? And then I said yes, of course, yes. And then I heard another person say later. So I didn't really mind. Eventually, I fell asleep again. And the next thing I knew, they were already stitching me up. The anesthesiologists were congratulating me already. And my doctor, with her scrub suit with lots of blood on it, came to me and congratulated me and told me that the twins are doing so well. She said that Niko was 6 pounds and 4 ounces, and Nia was 5 pounds and 5 ounces. I remember the nurses and all the doctors saying that they're big. To think that they're twins, they were big. And they said that Niko had lots of hair while Nia was bald. And I was wheeled into the recovery room to recover. Before giving birth, I knew that I was gonna go to the recovery room to rest, and I really wanted to treasure that time and really savor it, because I know that after that it's gonna be very chaotic with the twins. However, when I got to the recovery room, there was another patient who was kind of wild. I mean, he was panicking. He was speaking in Mandarin, and there was nobody who could understand him. And unfortunately, he doesn't talk English or Filipino either. So there was language barriers. They had to call on another doctor just to interpret. So he was panicking, he was shouting and screaming, so it was really difficult to rest. And that time I was also kind of anxiously waiting for the nurse to bring in my twins, because I haven't really seen them very well and touched them. So I was waiting for them so that I could breastfeed. I think I stayed there for about 4 hours, but they didn't bring my kids to me. They just kept saying that they're coming, but they didn't come. So I remember when they said that I was already free to go to my room, I asked them where my babies were. And they said that they'll just go to the room, go straight to the room. So when I got to the room, I was hoping that the babies will be there, because this was like afternoon already, I think around 1 p.m. So remember, I gave birth at 8. And during those times, I haven't seen my babies yet, and they haven't breastfed yet. So the whole time I was just thinking, they're probably already hungry. So I was so anxious that time. I couldn't really rest because I thought that my babies were hungry. When I got to the room, my husband explained what happened. So apparently, the pedia resident because the pedia that I got was not available on that date, so he asked his pedia resident to come in. And apparently she said she asked for donated breast milk if I have breast milk. And my husband said, yes, I do, because I did ask for donations just in case I need it. But we left it at home because we really didn't think that I need it. So we left it at home. And then the PD resident said that go get it. Told my husband to go get it because I couldn't breastfeed yet. I don't know why she said that. I don't really understand why. But eventually, I was told that Nia had some fluids in her lungs. So they had to go to the NICU and get observed. And so maybe that's why I couldn't breastfeed them, because they're in the NICU. Maybe. Honestly, nobody really explained to me what happened, and I didn't ask anymore because I was really just the whole time I was on my toes, to be honest. I was of course I was scared what was happening. I didn't know that there was this fluid in the lungs thing. And when I was in recovery, they just kept telling me that they were gonna bring my kids to me, or my babies to me. So I was kind of kept in the dark. So I didn't really like that, to be honest. And then I didn't get to breastfeed, which kind of upset me because I really wanted to, and I knew that I could. So anyway, good thing that I have donated breast milk. So that's what they gave them in the NICU during the time that they were getting or being observed. And luckily, everything checked out fine. They just gave them oxygen, and eventually the fluids went away. So around 7 p.m., they were already wheeled into the room, which was amazing because my family was there during that time. So they really waited. My sister, I mentioned this before, that two of my sisters who are based abroad were in the Philippines at that time. So I really wanted them to see the twins before they leave, and they were able to do that on December 27. When they were already wheeled in, I already told them that I wanted to breastfeed. So that night, I started breastfeeding them. I'm so happy that in Cardinal Santos Medical Center, they have lactation consultants who visit you every day. So yeah, I was visited, and they showed me how to tandem nurse, because that's really what I wanted to learn, and that's really something that I needed to learn. So yeah, they showed me how to do it, and until now, that's still what I do. Everything was quite smooth on December 27, the day of the birth. And then come December 28th, it was probably one of the worst days because recovery kicked my butt. I thought that I already knew what's gonna happen because I had a cesarean with Robyn, but this was a totally different game. Maybe because it's twins, so it was more painful. Like, I remember I didn't feel any pain with Robyn, but this one, it was really painful. And I tried to get up the next day, and when I did, it felt like I didn't know how to walk at all, and every step I take was so friggin' painful and so difficult, and I was bleeding all over. Of course, I was bleeding all over. And when I tried to pee, it was also very difficult and very painful because of the catheter. So the December 28th, the day after I gave birth, was really just full of pain and full of emotions also. I think because I felt like I was so weak, because I felt this pain, and it was so difficult for me to move. And I am kind of an independent and strong person, and my tolerance for pain is quite high. But that time, I just couldn't and I felt so weak, and so I cried like so many times, even if there were people in the room. Like, I kept crying because I just felt like I was so weak. Okay, the lighting might be a little different because the sun is starting to go down. Basically, the second day, I continued to feed them. I also was able to collect a little bit of amount of milk of colostrum. I was surprised that I started leaking. One of the major concerns that I had with twins was breastfeeding them. I didn't know if I was gonna have enough milk to supply both of the babies. So I was really surprised that day 2, my milk came in and I was able to actually collect some milk. So I brought a silicone pump. I brought a haka with me to the hospital, and I was able to collect a little bit of milk. We stayed in the hospital for about 4 days. So we got admitted December 26. I gave birth December 27. Then we went home December 30. When I asked my doctor why this cesarean section was so much different from the cesarean section that I had 6 years ago, why it was more painful, more intense, and recovery was more difficult than before, she said that obviously it's different because this time I was carrying 2 babies and the uterus had to stretch bigger as compared to having a singleton. So my uterus was working double time to get back to its normal size. Compared to having a singleton, it didn't really grow as big. So the recovery and how it has to go back is easier than having twins or having multiples. 3rd day, I was able to walk already. I was able to stand up and walk a little bit, and on the 4th day, the day that we were gonna go home, I was able to walk longer. I went to another place, the nursery, to watch them and take videos of them when they were being washed and they were being given a bath. Right before we left, they tested Nia's bilirubin levels, because they said that Nia, since she's smaller, she was 5 pounds and 5 ounces, she was more yellow, or she had a more yellow skin. So they tested their bilirubin levels, and I was so anxious. I was so scared, because if she had really high levels, then we would have to stay, or she would have to stay in the hospital. Hence everybody will stay, and she will have to undergo this phototherapy thing. Luckily, the results came back, and they weren't high enough for us to be admitted again and for her to undergo the phototherapy session. And then after that, the next problem or next concern was her hearing test. She failed the newborn hearing test, and so we have to go back to have her retested. I'll talk more about that in the baby updates, because it's been very emotionally draining, to be honest. So yeah, those were like the major concerns that we had during the stay in the hospital. Robyn at that time stayed with my parents. She stayed in my parents' house, which was closer to the hospital as compared to if she stayed here at home. So she stayed with my parents, and every day they visit me and bring Robyn to me. Sometimes they would bring her in the morning and come back for her at night, so we'd be able to spend more time together. It was really bittersweet, to be honest, because Robyn's not used to us not being there. We're always together. The 3 of us are always together. She has never tried having an overnight stay somewhere else or without us, so it was very difficult for her. And I told her that that was gonna happen like months before. Like, I was still pregnant, and I told her already that she had to stay with her grandparents because I didn't want her to be in the hospital, sleeping in the hospital. And I knew that they'd visit me every day anyway, so I told her that she'd be able to come anyway. So every time she went to the hospital, she was very happy, and every time it was time to go home or time to go back to my parents' house, she'd cry. And she'd cry like this silent cry, you know, you'll just see tears rolling down her cheeks, and it was really heartbreaking. And my husband felt so bad, felt so terrible that had to happen, but then he knew that it had to happen also. Robyn was such a trooper. Like, I know she didn't want it. She hated that feeling. She hated not being with us, but she still did it. I'm so proud of her, and I'm so grateful. And it just showed so much that she is so mature, and she understands like these things. She loves her siblings very much. She's very protective of them. Until now, she's very protective of them, and she helps me with them too. So yeah, when I ask her, sometimes I ask her if she remembers, she just says that she's so happy that it's over and that she doesn't want that to happen again. So yeah, I'm just so proud of her, and I'm really happy that she was able to understand everything. That was my delivery of the twins. If I was to do it all over again, maybe I'd probably just prepare myself better. Recovery was more emotional. Like, I found myself crying more, feeling so weak and feeling helpless while battling the pain. So yeah, it was just more emotional. Luckily, I didn't really suffer postpartum depression. My husband was always there to kind of lift me up, and that's really nice, because I remember with Robyn, it's the other way around. He was the one having such a difficult time coping, and I would be the one to kind of lighten the mood and lift him up. So that ends my delivery and birth story of Niko and Nia, the twins. I am doing well. I'm very grateful, and I feel very blessed that God looked after us during the whole ordeal and during the whole procedure. So that ends this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Again, don't forget to subscribe, and please visit my blog YellowYum.com for more information and more stories. So that's it. Bye.